Welcome back, everybody, to the Charging Curve with Jeff and Will. And
Hey, buddy.
we have a really nice surprise for everybody today. We think we were we were fortunate to be able to find somebody to join our little show and have a chat with us. Somebody that we've known for a while. So that's the good surprise today. It's not just us, and we're gonna have somebody else on the show to chat with you guys, following up on what we started talking about with connector types and evolution and where that's going in the industry, as well as kind of a follow on from the silly but semi-accurate beer demonstration about EV charging compared to water, and how that all plays.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun conversation that we were able to have there with Matt, and like Jeff and myself, he's been in the industry a really long time. He's got really interesting perspective. Working with a lot of folks on the automotive side, infrastructure side, and having a ton of direct exposure to customer acceptance or consumer acceptance of electric vehicles, resistance or pain points from a consumer adoption side. So I think it was, hopefully everyone enjoys it because, man, I sure had fun having that conversation.
Yeah.
And always good to bring in some other folks and ask interesting questions, and hear, what their viewpoint is. So,
Yeah. And importantly, I think, well, helpful and complementary. Everybody has heard our backgrounds in being more technical engineering. Matt is very much not that and brings a very a helpful, fresh perspective, focusing on marketing, customer experience, customer voice. Um, he's always been focused in that space, even before Chargeway and the things that he's worked on. So yeah, would be great if you guys can like, subscribe. Um, if you have any leads for sponsors, just send them our way. We'll see what we can do.
sponsors, people that need consulting help entering into the charging infrastructure space, or anything electric transportation related, we're here for you. You
Absolutely.
you you be here with us through likes and subscribes. We'll be here for you for hopefully interesting conversations and fun guests, and maybe some more demos. Hmm?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like what you did there, Will. Well done. Well done. All right. Well, we can roll into it now. Our conversation with Matt Teske from Chargeway. If you guys have any comments, feedback, questions, tips, things that are driving you nuts that you'd like us to talk about, or articles that you've seen, news that you've seen that you'd like to get our fun and interesting perspective on, send them over to TheChargingCurve@gmail.com. And in case my voice doesn't work,
It is the charging curve at gmail.com, and we've got plenty of space in the inbox. You get several gigs these days, so don't be shy.
yeah. All right, let's get into it. Will, we are back and we have a guest. This is a big moment for us on this show. Very
We've
first guest.
multiplied the group. Yeah, it's
And we are punching up. Let me tell you, Matt, welcome to the Charging Curve.
Thanks for having
How
me,
are
guys.
you?
Good to see you both.
We yeah, we had a little green room activity where we were talking about all of our gray hairs and angst. So we'll
Take a
probably.
shot for everything that frustrates you about this industry, and it's like,
Oh,
wow, we're still standing
well,
straight.
I have an
Yeah.
advantage over you guys. It is 6 o'clock where I am, so I
Oh,
could I could.
PM.
Yeah, sorry, PM. Yeah, I guess I should clarify.
I was about to say, like, that's a weird way to announce that you drink really early in the morning. It's like,
So, Matt, I know you're certainly a subscriber, so you will know that not only did we talk about connectors and different connector types and the complexity and where it's come from and where it's going, but we also had this just super awesome demonstration of why a battery is more complicated than gasoline by pouring a beer. So I'm sure you found that incredibly insightful, but you have a lot of really interesting customer experience and consumer first insights and perspectives on exactly that. And
Mhm.
so I'm hoping you can just jump in from there. We'll make some fun comments, but all three of us have lived this and we know how difficult this has been over time and how much we've come a long ways, but this is nowhere near solved for consumers.
Well,
It's
yeah, I mean,
everyone talks about that range anxiety, but it's not really that. It's because charging is new, different, and there's a lot of things that are not in normal conversation that get injected. So like, yeah, just really, really interesting to hear what you run into out there.
Since you said range anxiety, I think I have to take a drink.
nice. Well, yeah, and to that, I always say it's not range anxiety; it's fuel anxiety. It's the reality of it is gas cars haven't been perpetual motion machines for a century. We've had to refill them, but there isn't range anxiety in a gas car because the other product that has been required to have to make a car functional has been gasoline, and it's been out there waiting for everybody. It's highly visible, highly advertised, and it's ingrained into culture. And so the what we've done with EVs is we've said, okay, these two products, cars and gas, that have been symbiotic for 100 years, we are ripping them apart and getting rid of the gas part and saying, okay, cool, now use electricity, no problem, go on your merry way. And that's how the industry has acted. And unfortunately, that is proving to be a big problem because people are saying, that's great, you want me to buy this 5,000 pound car that runs on a fuel that you're telling me I just go and plug in, but where are they? How long does it take? How much does it cost? Like, I don't have any visibility in any of this, but you want me to buy this car. And so I contend it is not about the car. It is about the product we're trying to get people to buy is a new fuel type. And to your point, Jeff, about your analogy of just like, well, what do we have to explain then? Yeah, pouring water into a cup. There's no bubbling. There's no needing to taper it back. It's just you just pour it in. You're good. And the analogy of like, yeah, the bubbles in a beer or something. It's like, yeah, there's an element to how fast and how you fill up using electricity that we have to explain. And the industry has completely failed at that because we've been trying to educate people on engineering, and there isn't a consumer product on planet Earth that has been wildly successful with the public where you educated them on the engineering. You just made it work and you made it seamless. And so that's what we've been, again, my background and what we've been doing at Chargeway for, as we discussed in the green room, for damn near a decade, is this is going to be a massive issue to get the public to buy in, considering the chaos we've created within the marketplace for plug types, power levels, different networks, different charger designs, and different payment methods, all of that. We are fooling ourselves to think that we are going to get the public to just dive in because we said this magic electric car is better because it has regenerative braking or something. I mean, so we're not appreciating how the public is perceiving what we're offering them in a way that is going to allow us to be successful as an industry.
We got to make it as fun and intuitive as filling up a glass of beer.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I mean,
Most people can kind of do that for the most part.
Yeah, I mean Jeff
Most of the time.
No, but I mean exactly it. It's we were talking. I mean, Will, you mentioned about how you went to the dealership and were asking questions about charging when we were in there recently, and again, the dealers get a lot of grief for this because they're like, well, they should be the ones educating. It's like, okay, so then what are we giving them that allows them to understand what they're selling? And we are inundating them. I mean, there are people that have literally given binders this thick to dealerships saying, here's your educational tool. We were here for an hour. We showed you a PowerPoint. And now you get to know this binder and you get to sell people on this binder. And the people at the showrooms are like, look, that's crazy. If someone walks in here and they want to buy whatever our brand of vehicle is from us, and we can sell them the one that runs on regular or the one that runs on that dissertation, I'm selling them the one that runs on regular. And that's because they want to keep their job because they don't care what fuel the car runs on. They just sell their brand of vehicle. So I candidly, and I was at the Electric Expo Industry Day I mentioned a few weeks ago, and this came up, and I said, no, as an industry, we have fundamentally failed. And every time I hear someone from the industry say we're succeeding in communication and informing the public and helping them understand what they're doing, anybody I hear say that anymore, they're lying to themselves or they don't know what they're talking about. So
Dealerships don't educate you on the car.
No.
Like, people generally show up with an idea of what they want. They understand what the car means for their life. They may understand features, capabilities of the car that they want, but the dealership's not explaining to them how an internal combustion engine works and why this one brings more horsepower than that one or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not explaining the physics behind it
Right.
at all on anything.
And most of them couldn't, and that's
No,
because we made we made it so simple that a magic liquid makes your car go between 300 and 500 miles every time you refill it, and so the sales reps know, like you said, Will, they can just sell you on the fact that the car is red or it
it's
has
got leather
leather.
seats.
Yeah, it's they just talk about the fun stuff. I mean, buying a car is an emotional experience that's meant to be fun. It's an extension of your personality based on the design of the vehicle, based on the brand of the vehicle, the messaging from the brand. All of that is part of who your persona is. As I mean, this is very Americana, but that's what it's been for decades. And the dealerships know that, the automakers know that, and the idea that the mantra of owning an EV for the last 20 years oftentimes has just been, well, you're a tree hugging greenie, and that's what we need to sell you. And so that's the niche we created. We kept saying EVs were really different, and the truth is, an EV is a great car. Like it's fast, we know that. It has less maintenance. Okay, good, it saves you money. But when someone's buying a product that is their mode of transportation, they have to know they can trust it. So all those other benefits we talk about so regularly, they might nod their head and go, "That sounds great, but I don't trust it. I don't trust I can use this thing as my mode of transportation on a regular basis because I don't know where the fuel is and I don't know how to use the fuel and I don't trust a car that I can't refill with confidence." And so that's the part that, as an industry, the bribes are gone. Like, we just lost the incentives. The bribes are gone. We have to be very honest to ourselves about how we've gotten all of this wrong, about how we explain the value prop of how this works for people's lives. And I've been the one, on a hilltop alone championing that for seemingly forever. I'm only hoping that now we can have some honest conversations about what that actually means. And anytime I get an opportunity to talk about it, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah,
You're
how is this going to impact my daily routine
Mhm.
and everything work the same way that it did before?
Yeah. Well, and the dealer folks, I always tell them now, and anytime I chat with someone from a dealer, I'm like, look, if you're going to sell an EV, or if you're talking to someone who asks a question about it, the first question you ask them is, where do you park at night? That the moment you ask that question, they give you an answer, which is either a garage or a driveway, or they say, I rent, I street park, whatever. You are having two different sales experiences.
oh yeah.
With the person that says, yeah, I park in my garage, why do you care? It's like, well, your fill up is going to be almost exclusively at home, literally. I can show you how to road trip when you need to, but literally you're filling up at almost all the time. Then the sales experience with the person who says, yeah, I street park, you have to then walk them through how to navigate public charging in a way that they can understand. If I go here, it's going to be a 15-minute charge. If I go there, it's going to be a 2-hour charge because of power. How does that work for, like, oh, there's a movie theater nearby, so I could go see a movie and fill up while I'm watching a movie. I mean, these are things that they have to figure out how to talk about. That training isn't happening at all. So,
Yeah, it is. All the comments that you've made, Matt, I think it's a to borrow from Al Gore, inconvenient truth. There are not enough people that are recognizing that we these are still massive issues. The
yes.
cars themselves and the technology has gotten much better,
Mhm.
but the experience between somebody driving the car and putting energy in the car so they continue to drive it, that there's more infrastructure, but it is not a solved problem by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I share your just massive frustration with the lack of addressing that from a consumer experience standpoint in a really holistic way.
It makes me think of there's a book that Charles Barkley, he wrote it, or someone wrote it with him, but the title of the book was "I May Be Wrong, but I Doubt It." And this book's probably 20 years old now, and I always thought it was funny, just the title of it, because he's kind of a smug, but he's a pretty practical guy when he's discussing sports and other things that he cares about. It's just like, Will, as you said, we've got to make this approachable for people, and we're not doing that yet.
Yeah, I think and especially now with the vehicles, right on the cusp of becoming even more accessible, prices are going down.
Yeah.
We're introducing or we're, like right on the edge of having vehicles with great range, awesome features, $30,000 price point without incentives, so that opens up the market. And the easier, like history shows again and again with products, the easier that you make it for people, the more you're going to sell.
Sure.
the more that technology is going to be adopted. When they started having internet connected washing machines or internet connected everything, I was working in the industry doing internet connected things in 2005, 2006, and it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I did a tech support job, and if someone mentioned a certain product, you knew it was internet connected, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the phone with this person. It was in someone's home. I'm going to be on the phone with this person for 2 hours, figuring out their router, figuring out all these things. Now you buy something, it's like, oh, hey, is this your network? Scan this code.
Yeah.
It's online now.
Yeah.
Like your phone gives it the password. Like all these things have been designed to just make it completely, seamless and easy for the user. And now it's everywhere. So how do we do that with, charging for electric vehicles, especially as the markets, you're right, the bribes are totally gone, but the prices are coming down. So
Yeah.
how do you remove that huge barrier of what the heck do I do to refuel this thing?
Well, we have to be talking about the fuel as a product. Endgame. That's it. I mean, like, there's no signage, there's no advertising, there's no public discussion about electricity as a fuel. The moment you start talking charging, it's schematic drawings, kilowatts, kilowatt hours, plug type this, plug type that, adapter that.
Hey, you're talking to some engineers. Hold on now.
Yeah. Don't make me drag you guys outside and teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
But no, but that's the problem is we've let the engineering like find its way into the marketing and to the communication, and that's just it's just epically wrong. And I always use the analogy of, it's like if back in the late 70s Steve Wozniak would have said to Steve Jobs, no, when we go and present this tomorrow at this computer conference, I have to be the one to talk about it because I'm going to be speaking the language of the people there. If Woz would have said
I know how it works.
Yeah.
And therefore,
if Woz would have said that, he'd have been, and if Jobs would have been like, all right, dude, you got it, Apple wouldn't exist. And so that's the issue we're having is this passing of the baton needs to happen where the technology, as Jeff, as you said, it's really advanced, and it has. We're at a place now where we've got cars that go 300 miles on a charge that can charge up in 15 minutes. That's awesome. Like, that's amazing. If you rewind 5 years, it's like, whoa, that's pretty rad. Like Tesla was the reigning king for so long for all these things, but we've got really competitive cars in the market now, and that's awesome. But Will, to your point, this price that's coming down on new vehicles, as well as what's going to happen with used vehicles, I think the used element is attractive because of price, but selling a used EV at a dealership where that's not your brand, and you happen to have a vehicle that got traded in, and you're like, how do we charge it? We don't know. I mean, so this is where I think Chargeway is going to be super helpful in that context to say, you want to buy a used Kona EV? It's like, okay, are you going to try to explain J1772 and CCS and the fact that it's 100 kilowatt DC charging max capable and that all those chargers out there that are 350 kilowatt that we market as 350, it doesn't matter. You could go to a 100 kilowatt and you're totally, I mean, are you going to say that in a showroom? No, that's not happening. And so how can we then say, at every showroom, it's like, oh, which vehicle are you looking at? Catalog it. Oh, that goes to Green Stations. It's a level 5 car. So not the fastest charging, but if you're driving around town or on a road trip, it's going to take you longer to get back on the road. If you want something faster, we've got a Mach-E here. That's a level 6 car. And we've got an Ioniq 5 here. That's a level 7 car. I mean, that type of context is going to matter in those discussions because people are going to buy these used cars and be scrambling to figure out how to use them.
Yeah, that's it. We got to this point, and you started talking about colors and numbers, Matt, but I don't know that you've really introduced Chargeway officially. Will and I know.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was a language that simple where you could explain charging, right? So yeah, my alluding to, wow, we could say it like this is what Chargeway is. And with Chargeway, for those who have never heard of it and what we do, it started out as a way to communicate. That really was what it was. My background's marketing, and I wanted to communicate charging differently. And so we said, let's refer to colors, plug types as colors, and then we can use a visual of a color to show on a map where a plug awaits a car that matches, a station that matches your car's plug. So on a map, you can see your car with your plug color and all the stations that match your plug color, so you can go there. You're not using weird terminology. You're just saying match green to green or red to red. And then with numbers, you can show the maximum level that a car will request at a station. So you have a car that's rated as a 5 or a 6 or a 7. That means those cars can charge up to certain speeds. And then if you match that to a station that's a 6 or a 7, etc., you'll have your best experience, or maybe it'll take you a little bit longer. So the visualization of plug and power that dictates can I connect and how long will I wait is what Chargeway solves. And then we put it into a software platform where you can just add your vehicle to Chargeway and it does all of that thinking for you. And when you adjust your battery of your vehicle inside of Chargeway, it will automatically calculate your charging time based on a power level at a station that you tap on. That is the education that we need to give people to make it simple and approachable. And that's what the Chargeway platform does for every EV in North America for over 60 networks in North America. So,
Yep.
Yeah, when I first saw it, it reminded me a little bit of I think like Mario Kart. When you're picking the vehicle and it shows you the line of like this acceleration, this turning, and stuff like that, and you pick the one with the best lines. But it was that easy to understand in my mind. Like,
when it was
like,
designed,
oh, you've got a certain type of car, it's a certain level, that opens up these colors to you.
Yeah. And it's designed to be holistic and agnostic. So it doesn't matter where you live, what car you're driving, what stations you want to use, what networks you want to use. It is the entire kingdom translated for your personal experience based on the fact that you said, I have that car. And that includes adapters as well. If you have a vehicle that now can go to, like Tesla opening up their network to other brands, you just go into adapters and turn on your red fast adapter. And then it will tell you, here's the superchargers you can use. And these are the ones that are open to non-Teslas. We hide the ones that are only Tesla only because you can't go to that. And every week, if not every day, we see on owners groups where people say, yeah, I bought my brand new Kia and it's got a red plug on it. And not that they're saying that yet, but they will. And they said, I went to a supercharger and it didn't work. I don't get it. It was crazy. And yet again, it's this little nuance of like, well, that's a supercharger that's for Tesla only still, because it's lower power rated or it's got a mix of power ratings, so they don't want non-Teslas showing up. I mean, so this is stuff that, back to that educational factor of dealers have to explain this, and I think with Chargeway, we give dealers and the public a Sesame Street way of understanding, oh, I go to Elmo, and the count shows up and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like, yeah. And if it's higher, you fill up faster. This is the part that we have to make it fun, playful, easy, just approachable. And I think that we have the right strategy, and I hope more in the industry start to embrace it, just even at a minimum on the advocacy level. I recognize that there's companies out there that have tried to figure out how to explain this on their own too, but I think the more that we get drivers and advocates to say, actually, the path forward for all of us is let's have a simple way to communicate this. That's what Chargeway was supposed to be from day one. So
you should add a thing where they have snacks by the chargers, so you could have the Cookie Monster too.
Oh, well, Cookie Monster.
Cookies.
Technically, Cookie Monster is like, again, he's Chatamo. He's the blue plug, so he's OG. So, basically, he is the guy hanging out at the plug that is kind of like slowly going away. So he's just chomping on his cookie while, Elmo and Kermit are fighting it out for like, hey, like who's the dominant plug? This all sounds. What's that?
Behind the hedges.
Yeah, exactly.
Receding into the hedges.
Yeah. But think about how we're talking about this, and this is actually how we should be presenting this to the public.
It's important. Like the demarcation. So as an engineer, you come at this from a technical, looking at it with technical glasses on, and the car is capable of 172.9 kilowatts max. And it's not 180, it's not 178, it's 100. I know exactly what it is. This is what it is. So we're going to tell people what it is, and then, but it doesn't matter. That does not matter to people. So being able to put in a disconnect between engineering and technical specifications, and this being an almanac or Rosetta Stone, simple and approachable. Whether it's 178 or 172, it's a what number, Matt?
Well, that would be a 6.
It's a 6, right?
Yeah.
And the 6, that's very easily a road tripping car.
Yeah.
A 4, you're going to have a little bit of pain, but a 4, like a Kona EV. So you see one of those used on a lot. It's fine. I'm just going to be using it around town, and I have a place to charge at home. I don't need to take it on road trips. That's perfectly acceptable for my use case in my life and how it's going to fit.
Yeah. Well, it's about setting people up for their expectations that they actually understand like what's going to happen during ownership, right? And this is the part where you see some of the ads that have come out for fast charging with OEMs, and they'll show like there was the Kevin Bacon commercial with Hyundai, and he was talking about how fast it was, but the legalese at the bottom of the screen when he was talking about charging was like a third of the screen, and I remember thinking, yeah, that's a problem. And so no, but you hit the nail on the head. It's just like these little elements of, and again, I appreciate. I mean, I'm an early EV adopter. I've been driving EVs for 13 years now, and I did nerd out at the beginning, and I was like, I love this. I want to learn all this stuff, and then I realized quite quickly that my passion for wanting an EV was not something that translated to what my friends and family would also appreciate for why they might want one. And so that to me is the challenge. The greatest challenge that the industry has right now is appreciating the pivot that has to happen that way, and that is about what you just described, which is, yeah, yes, that's the technical specificity. Yes, we understand that, but we do need to simplify. But that doesn't mean glossing over reality and coming up with some BS terminology like hyper or something to say, oh, it's really quick. It's like, come on, like we got to be more thoughtful than that.
Hyper. I have no idea what you might be alluding to. Hyper.
Well, again, not to beat up on anybody in particular or different companies, but the point being is like they were trying to solve a problem to say, how do we explain this differently? I get it. They went to an ad agency, and the ad agency, these are not subject matter experts. These are people that you come to them with a problem and you say, we need your help to translate this to be a marketable solution to people. And they will say, okay, what's your problem? And then they do the research and they understand as best they can what you're trying to solve. And they come up with something that sounds simple and great, and you can market it and it looks glossy and fine. But if it actually is a surface level understanding of what we're trying to solve for education, and it's actually just buzzwords, then actually that does more harm than good in the long run. And that's
too bad those yahoos over at Electrify America didn't talk to you, Matt. They would have known what to do.
This is why we go to conferences and we try to talk about how we're going to collaborate. And I, am hopeful that we're going to have more honest conversations about how that has to be moving forward because of how things have changed with the political headwinds, and just acknowledging the data that we now have to say, yeah, people are basically, how I said it at Expo is I said, we've created a lot of curiosity about EVs with the public in their minds, which is awesome. But because we've done such a terrible job of communicating how it works for them, we've created a massive amount of skepticism. And once you've created curiosity to then skepticism, if you can't solve that quick, it just turns into them saying, no.
Bad.
Yeah.
I got to a point with certain conferences in the industry that I just decided I'm really wasting my time, and I haven't been back for 3 or 4 years. Has it gotten better yet, or is it still?
I stopped going.
Okay.
So I mean, sorry to those who are hearing this, but I stated to someone very explicitly recently from an advocacy group that was saying, "Oh, you're going to go to this conference?" I said, "No." And they went, "Why not?" I said, "Because I'll be honest with you. I just spent the last 10 minutes explaining to you what Chargeway does for the 17th time, and you still aren't understanding why this is important." So I frankly, as you said, it's like, I don't really want to keep going and having a conversation with people that don't want to listen. I don't. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's obvious that that's the problem. It's like you don't want to acknowledge, like, oh, yeah, we actually have gotten this wrong and we need to be thinking differently.
Try something different.
The EV industry is an echo chamber. It is a very, very, very thick echo chamber. And
these are 350 kilowatts.
Right.
So that'll solve the problem.
Again, the point being is each of these networks, what was their like let's talk about the networks. Each of these networks has had an approach that's been vastly different. EA was a punishment. EVgo, Blink, a lot of these originals, ChargePoint, they were banking off of federal grants and anything they could get from VCs to just say, if we can just get this stuff out there, one day it will be a revenue model for us. But the model that a lot of them were using was, we don't really give a damn if we actually provide electricity as fuel in a way that's reliable, because our revenue model is based on software subscriptions to our platform to have your PIN in our mobile app. And that right there, with zero regulation around the fact that that's what grew the charging infrastructure for a long time, no wonder people were getting angry. And this is why Tesla was standing back saying, we're not going to trust any of you to help us with this. We're just going to do it ourselves. And that's why every automaker finally went, we give up on the third party thing. We're just going to wave the white flag. Elon, you win. We're going to just ask to get access. We're going to change all of our plugs over because we're tired of having our owners say that they They love the car, but they hate the fueling. And so these are honest realities about where we've gotten to. But even with the changes we've made, it doesn't mean it's perfect. Like we were talking at the beginning, it's like if NACS could be perfectly everywhere, we still have battery voltage to contend with. We still have battery architecture to contend with. We still have plug location to contend with. We still have all these different factors that will relate to what's your experience based on the car you're driving, even if NACS was perfectly everywhere. And so it's
not going to be for like at least 30 years.
It's decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that is depressing. That is, it's true, but it is, yeah, it's gonna take a while. But yeah, to your point, we have this big mixed basket of stuff that's out there right now, not just different power capabilities of stations, but all sorts of different connectors, right? Fast forward to 30 years from now when there's nothing but NACS everywhere and cars are nothing but NACS, you still have the coordination between what can the station provide, what are the capabilities of the cars, and that gets back to the beer example. Having an expectation, being able to easily understand this is the one that I want to go to from what I need in this moment, and this is, it matches with my car in this, that, or the other way, so I know what's going to happen when I get there. And that is not going away.
No, that's not going away, and that's a big part of what we built Chargeway to solve for anybody, is to say, once you've chosen your car, it just does all of that thinking for you. You don't have to figure out what your car's experience is going to be at this station. We've already done it for you. And that is going to live on for, again, years and years moving forward, whether that's related to the architecture of the car or the station that's selected, or whether that's related to, I mean, there are cars being sold right now with CCS connectors on them, green if you're in Chargeway, that will be on the road in 15 years with that connector, and they're going to have adapters to reach out and use other stations away from home. And so that we've created that, that circus of an experience for the public, and every day that passes, another car sells, another car comes out that's brand new, or another station is installed from one of 60 plus networks in North America, and it's still not uniform. It's not uniform today, it's not uniform tomorrow, and it's going to be that way for years to come. And so we have to appreciate that we can't just hope that the public is going to go, well, it's an EV, it's better, I'll just buy it. it's like, no, that's not going to work, folks. It's not going to work. So
if only there wasn't an entrenched alternative in the market.
Well, doing a SWOT analysis is important when you're trying to bring something to market, and understanding what is it you bring to the table that actually will get someone to say, I see the value. And I think there was the hype train behind EVs in the last 5 years, especially related to the SPACs that happened and everything else. Like, this has all been solved. Let's throw big money at it. I think the lack of pragmatism around what we were actually at technologically, and where where consumer behavior was showing us what they were expecting, and we just, as an industry, kept glossing over like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And the answer is no, it's not. And I think that the public has kind of called out our BS a bit, in the sense that, we've seen this wave of, I'm going to buy an EV when they do polling. It's like, 6 out of 10 drivers like, yeah, I think I'd get an EV. And now that's waning again, and it's doom and gloom. And my response is, again, what have we done to give them a reason to say they can make that decision with confidence? And on top of that, we're not giving anybody the reason to run into a showroom and say, I want to buy a car that runs on this fuel, that isn't gasoline. They still are just, I guess this car runs on something different and I'll figure it out. I do contend that here in the United States of America, especially, globally this isn't 100% the same, but here in the US, especially because of our culture and Americana and cars and gas and everything, we have to have an outbound message around, you have fuel choice, this is how it works for your use case. It may not be that you can haul 3 horses and a trailer tomorrow with an electric truck, but it sure as hell means that if you are an everyday commuter and you want a small SUV or a CUV or a small car or whatever, and you have a house, it is a no-brainer that you can do this and trust it, but that revolves around a fuel discussion, not around a car discussion.
Yep. Yeah, I did an analysis of back when we had government data that we could trust. I don't know, so it must have been a little while ago. About
pre 10 months ago, yeah.
Number of single-family homes, so like detached single-family homes, and what that means for how much of the vehicle market could truly be addressed without thinking about the hard part of street parking, no driveway, no garage, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
it's half of America.
it, yeah. So if we could get that, if we could actually get past that, that'd be great progress.
I would
Right
I would
there.
agree. No, I agree with that 100%. I've had meetings in the past with various stakeholder groups, utilities and others where they've said, okay, but and this is the hard part. Utilities play such a vital role in this, and Jeff, you know this better than anybody, is the challenge they've had oftentimes with, well, we have to do this in a way that does right by all of our ratepayers. We can't have this be a special option for people that are in a particular use case. And the truth is, though, we needed to carpet bomb the world with, if you own a home, this is for you, baby. And we're going to do everything we can to get you to do it, because if those people lease those cars for 3 years and that drops into the used market and it's more cost effective for someone to buy a used EV that doesn't have a house, that can't, charge at home, we could have created some mechanisms by which we could have probably incentivized that better. But there were some red tape and bureaucratic elements and politicking that didn't allow for it, and that's still a big issue. That's probably a whole different can of worms to open up. You guys can do a separate episode on that one. I think the other thing on the vehicle side and on the experience side for owners is the software experience inside of the cars and inside of the mobile apps for the vehicles as well is also a very big issue still. And Tesla has proven that there's a way to do it in a way that is pretty simple and seamless, but they own their own ecosystem. And the challenge for the other brands where they've had to try to tie in as much data as they can from wherever they can, combining with working with other partners like Google and others, they're doing their best. But the ones who have tried on their own, like Volkswagen with Cariad, dumping Cariad after billions spent, going with the Rivian partnership, now because of the headwinds of politics saying, oh, hey, Rivian, can you take your software and turn it into something that does stuff for gas cars too? And Rivian's like, what? No, that's never going to happen. What do you mean? So this is behind the curtain on the software front. That is still, as far as I'm concerned, aside from infrastructure, the software component is without a doubt one of the biggest challenges that the legacy industry has to contend with, and it's still something that they're again struggling with. So
Yeah, Tesla had a big hill to climb initially when they chose to develop everything on their own, but that allowed them to build in the experience that is really seamless and easy for drivers. And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
curious, Matt, your Chargeway has matured and evolved a lot over the past little bit. I know at one point there was potentially an opportunity to get some intelligence from vehicles to be able to do something similar to Tesla directly in Chargeway to give it that kind of processing ability and like insights to like what is your actual state of charge now? What is the weather, where you are, temperature, battery temperature, and to be able to project in a way that basically like Tesla does today. Um, how's that going?
Well, we gathered up. I mean, we've had our mobile app in market now since basically the beginning of late 2018, early 2019. So it's been in market now for 6 years essentially. And a lot of the user feedback we've gotten from some of the features we built in around that, trying to understand, okay, what can we learn about what happens to your vehicle at a certain temperature as it relates to road tripping, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that really allowed us to gather as much just inbound data from users as we could. That really helped us create a new algorithm around our trip planner, for example. One of the biggest questions that always pops up is, if I'm driving this thing in 20-degree weather, what happens to my battery? And there's all these different charts you can find and 10,000 word blogs about it. What we said was, in our trip planner, we can just, with all the data we've got, we can say what car you're driving. If you charge to 100% and it is X degrees outside in either Fahrenheit or Celsius, and you're driving at either miles per hour, kilometers per hour, we can automatically calculate within 95% accuracy what is your maximum range in those conditions. And so we offer that in our trip planner now. It's a very simple user interface, and once you set those settings, you can choose to plan a road trip as if it was the middle of December or the middle of July, and you will see different ways of how your car will experience that drive. We do have a connected feature for Chargeway that we've been testing for the last year or so called Chargeway Plus, which is it allows you to telematically connect your vehicle directly to Chargeway. We will see your state of charge real time. You can set your charge limit. You can start and stop your charging. We've been doing some testing along that for different programs for partners we work with, like utilities that are trying to understand is this a mechanism by which we can provide insights into what their home charging is and how it could benefit them over time. The connected feature is something that, again, we're still testing the value of it for what it's going to do for the platform for our users over time. We did roll in the real-time pricing features into the Chargeway Plus subscription recently. So now at public chargers, at over 60% of public chargers in North America, if you're a Chargeway Plus user, you can see a calculated total cost to charge right on the station pin when you tap it. So
nice.
if whether you've connected your car or not, if you're a Chargeway Plus user, either we're detecting your live battery status or you can manually set your battery. Any station pin you tap on the map, then once it pops up, it'll show you your plug color. If there's a power level, so it estimates your charge time, shows you real-time availability, and then above the pin, it'll tell you $32.67 because we can say it's 48 cents a kilowatt hour at this location right now. Your battery needs 65 kilowatt hours to charge to X%. Here's your calculation. And so that's never been done, and it's being done in an agnostic, holistic way. So you can choose any EV and it works in that fashion. So to your point about all of this data that we get in, what have we done with it over the years? We wanted to turn around and give people a user experience that was so, like Will, as you said earlier, it's like just make it so simple and so thoughtful that they say, man, it does all the thinking for me. I don't have to actually be an engineer. This is actually really helpful. That's really what we wanted to land the plane on. So
We love engineers here, but yes, being an engineer to own an EV is a very small market. It's not nearly big enough for what we should be accomplishing.
yeah, but it's the thing at the end of the day, again, and you guys, starting up your podcast and having conversations like this, it is important to maintain having discussions around how are we making it work in the sense of from the technological perspective, but then also marrying that to the how are we making it work for people. And that is something that, again, that's been my position for years and will continue to be. And I think we are now at a place where, as Jeff, as you said earlier, the market has evolved and grown and technologically advanced to a place where we really have compelling arguments around these products being awesome. We really do. I don't always want to make it seem like I'm a naysayer of like, no, there's no good. No, there's a ton of good, but we have to be practical about what does that good mean? It's not perfect, but we have a really good opportunity right now as an industry, I think, to have to take a step back, look at the landscape of what's happened with the federal incentives being gone and a lot of the federal support we had being just soft or vanished. Is how do we now take those things you described about we got some great tech and some great products out there and have a collective conversation that makes people say, oh, now I get the value. Now I get it. That's really what we got to start doing.
Yeah. One of the things that strikes me as you're talking about this is how Chargeway, so colors and numbers, making it simple and seamless and intuitive for anybody in the middle of the EV fueling experience to understand. That puts Chargeway in the middle of automakers, infrastructure vendors, and utilities.
Hmm.
Right? So you've got all of those different stakeholders that are part of that ecosystem, drivers being in the middle of all of it.
Hmm.
So if you're listening to this and you haven't heard of Chargeway before and you're a utility, you should take a look at this and see how this could help describe electricity as a fuel.
Hmm.
If you're an automaker, you should think about how this might simplify selling vehicles, making it easier for dealers to sell vehicles on your behalf if you have dealerships. And if you're an infrastructure vendor, Will,
How can this is an example of something you should look at to improve the user experience on your network across the board. User experience at charging networks, I think overall came in at 46% positive. Plug-in America just released their annual study. 46% positive is an increase. So hey, that's good.
That's good.
But we got a lot of percentages between that and like 100 to where it could be better, right? Like actually more percentages between 46 and 100 than 46 and 0. So long way to go. But I think Chargeway is something to look at. I anything we can do to make it easier for people to understand how it fits into their life, and increase the benefits of these vehicles. Um, we've done a bunch of great work in the industry getting a lot of infrastructure out there.
Yep.
Matt mentioned earlier, like, hey, 5 years ago, it might have been before we started recording, but the speed at which you can charge a vehicle now compared to where we were 5 years ago, even people in the industry to that point, it was like, nah, we probably won't get that fast. Certainly not in 5 years, but like here we are.
Yeah.
So, hey, now why don't we focus on the user experience, making sure people can understand that this can work for them, and then the floodgates are open.
I think that we just, as this conversation has shown, it's just we've got to be very thoughtful around where are people coming from into this EV sales funnel, and where do they have anxiety? We call it range anxiety, but again, as I said, I think it's fuel anxiety. But just there you go. Sorry, got to pour it out. And at the end of the day, we're at the beginning of a very long conversation as it relates to how this will all impact our country, the grid, the world in so many ways. And we've all been working on it for years. There's people that have been working on it for a lot longer than all three of us, and we're still at the beginning. I think the biggest challenge we have now is, again, just how did EVs become so politicized? And I think it's namely because the people that were steering the narrative around how we communicate what they are and what the value is, we're thinking in a very narrow way, and they were thinking in a way of we got to get people thinking like us. But my thought is, if we want to have the true impacts of EVs impact everybody in the ways that it'll reduce emissions, that it will reduce maintenance costs and put more money in people's pockets over time, things like that. We just need to talk practically about those things and how we make them buy in on those. And then the benefits that come with all of us doing it is reduced emissions, lower carbon footprint, things of that nature. I think it's okay to do that, but that is a ideological shift, I think, for many people in this space that is going to maybe be hard to do, but it's kind of a hard truth, or an inconvenient truth, as you said earlier.
Hey.
Yeah.
Do I have to drink for that too? Jesus.
I'm sure. It's 6 a.m. somewhere, right, Jeff?
Oh man. Yeah. It is sobering. Maybe a little self-awareness all around in our industry would be helpful. That 46% number, Will, is just wild to hear.
Yeah.
But I believe it, and think about how how do you improve that if everybody that uses your product, that uses your location for charging, if what they expect is exactly what happens, they're going to be very satisfied. And Chargeway is an excellent way to put a really good, easy to understand visual system in place that sets expectations and allows customers to roll up and get exactly what they think they're going to get.
I mean, just providing transparency how we can, and we've again, we have a relationship with Consumer Reports where if you leave a review in Chargeway, you can just submit that directly to Consumer Reports, and they are cataloging what happened at these networks, what happened in these geographies, what happened with these different vehicles. So that's a partnership we forged about a year ago, and the data coming back from that is very interesting as to what you do see based on different networks. Then you can start to extrapolate what's the hardware that this network is using, what's happening as it relates to these different OEMs, and what does that then mean? I mean, so there's a lot to be unpacked around that, and this is where there's a lot of value from the engaged drivers that give feedback on different platforms. It's important to have that engagement over time. I forget who I was talking to recently, but they just made the joke. They're like, actually, I think, well, even you said it earlier, Jeff. It's like, no one really leaves reviews at gas stations. Like, no one cares. They just show up and just use them. Like, it's just, I don't care. I just want to get my fuel and get on my merry way. And so that's where we have to get to with charging. I think we are graduating into that place where we do have enough learnings around what should a public charging experience feel and look like. And so brands like Iona that are backed by 7 different automakers that lived through some of the pain points, said, okay, let's try to get this out and make it better. I think we'll see Rove is another one, Rove Charging in Southern California that's doing it. That's an expensive way to go about it, but it will create better experiences that more people will talk about, which is good. But at the end of the day, we're tip of the iceberg on that becoming more of a normalized way of seeing public charging. Even in Europe, they're rolling that style out, but it's even not even the norm in Europe, and they're ahead of us. So we're at the beginning of a very long story still, and we're all tired.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna end on I think a positive note if we can muster it. Um, Matt, we talked about a number of ways in which whether you're at a utility or an infrastructure vendor or an automaker, Chargeway is probably interesting in some way. And if you don't know about it, if you've never heard of Chargeway, you absolutely need to get familiar with it. So how would they find you?
Oh yeah, no. For those who are listening and watching, find us at chargeway.net. That's our website, and I obviously want to encourage everyone to download the Chargeway mobile app on iOS and Android. If you own an EV, multiple EVs, or if you're just curious as to what the heck we're talking about and have never driven one, download the app and add your EV or as many EVs as you want. Plan road trips with it. Play with the app for what it does. Adjust the vehicle battery. Click on station pins. See how it estimates charge time. It's all about providing transparency. So yeah, find us at chargeway.net. Everything for social media is just Chargeway. That could be Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter, whatever people still call it. I don't know. And LinkedIn. It's really about anybody that's in that space of whether it's on the stakeholder side. So like you said, utilities, automaker, dealerships, infrastructure. Please reach out to us if you're interested in chatting more. Our goal is to make it so that every single one of the stakeholders in a connected fashion will have the ability to provide the experience to drivers that we want to create. And through Chargeway, we think we can communicate that very effectively on behalf of everybody and help anybody that is maybe struggling with that have a better experience for their customer.
And even better, Matt is a dog guy. I don't know if you've noticed the background there, Will.
Yeah, he's Rudy is he's heard this discussion from that position. I don't know how many times. So he's to the point now where the phrase disapproving corgi, he's like the poster corgi for it. So yeah, he's just like, oh, this topic again, super dad. Unfortunately, I tried all my ideas on him originally. And it's like, hey buddy, what do you think of this? And it's just like, just nod, man. He's like, just give me a cookie and play with me. He's like, I'll say whatever you want. So, but yeah. Well, thank you for the time, guys. I appreciate the invite to be on. I respect both of you. I've known you both for a long time. I think these types of conversations are important to keep having in a candid way, as best we can. I hope that anything that I was blunt about wasn't insulting to anybody from this space. But at the same time, Jeff, you said it's like we got to start having some honest conversations with ourselves about how do we do this better, truly do it better, instead of repeating things that we've done forever and hoping other people will finally figure it out. That ship has sailed. We got to do better, but we can.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We got to a positive end. Will.
Yeah. Speaking of giving out cookies, if you like what you've heard, please like our podcast and subscribe. And if you've got questions or interesting topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, feel free to drop something in the comment after you have watched the podcast or listened to it, or email us at TheChargingCurve@gmail.com.
Awesome. Good work. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate
Thanks,
the conversation. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks,
Good
Matt.
to see you, Rudy, in the background. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.